Hello, good morning. So today I want to talk to you about the harsh realities of the Black church. And the reason why I want to talk about this because this is a big part of my background. I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Both of my parents were pastors. My mom and my dad were pastors. And I was a little bit confused why my mom was able to be a pastor because I did read the Bible, and the Bible does say that it is a shame for a woman to speak in church. And so this is in the New Testament. So in the New Testament, it says women need to be quiet in church, and my mom became a pastor, and I was very confused why she could be a pastor. Now, the Bible's okay with a man being a pastor. My dad was a pastor, but my mom did what she wanted to do. So I did read this scripture to my mom. I said, "Mom, why are you a pastor?" She was an ordained minister. She was ordained in one of the non-denominational Black churches. And so I asked her, "Why can you be a pastor when the Bible says women should be quiet in church?" I think the Bible does not want women to be pastors. And she said, "Well, back then, women were not educated. I'm an educated woman, so therefore I can be a pastor, and God called me to be a pastor." And she went on to be a pastor, and she went on to preach. So, as a young Christian, I grew up in a Christian household. I decided that maybe if I don't like something in the Bible, I can cherry pick also and choose what I like and what I don't like. Because if mom can do it, I can do it, okay? Yes. So that's how it was. But yes, the harsh realities of the Black church. So here's one of the things I've experienced in the Black church. Our heroes don't look like us. And this is what I mean. I was in a Black church, and there were pictures of white Jesus, okay? And Jesus, is supposed to be the ultimate hero within Christianity. So here I am. I'm inside of Black Christianity here in the United States. And I'm looking at pictures of white Jesus, white Noah. The story of Noah's in the ark. He's white according to the pictures. There's pictures of white Moses giving the law to the people. And so I'm looking at these white characters, and then I'm looking at the Black people in the church, and I'm thinking to myself, your heroes don't look like you. And I was very aware that in other countries, their heroes look like them. For example, in Japan, the Japanese people have heroes that look like them. The white people have heroes that look like them. The Arabic people, they have heroes that look like them. But the Black people in the church, their heroes did not look like them. And I had to think on this. And it's because the main reason why our hero don't look like us is because of colonization. And there's another word here. Oh, the doctrine of discovery. The doctrine of discovery is something that many Black churches don't know about. And this is something that Black churches all over the United States, they should be talking about, the doctrine of discovery. So if you don't know what the doctrine of discovery is, it was written way back. This is during the age of exploration, when the Europeans were exploring and conquering land. This was back in 1493, a long time ago. The year after Christopher Columbus discovered America, he was able to claim the land for the king and queen of Spain. And so the doctrine of discovery is about when a group of European people discovered new land, and on the new land, if there's people on the land, and if those people are not Christian, the European can take over that land, and the European can conquer the people, and the Europeans can teach the people that their culture is not important, and the Europeans were able to give them the Europeans were able to give the Native Americans their culture and their language and their way of life, and they were also able to teach the native people that they were inferior and that they were racially inferior. That was what the Doctrine of Discovery was about. And the Doctrine of Discovery, it was not only used in North America, it was also used in South America, Brazil. There's a reason why so many people in Brazil speak the Portuguese language. And because the Europeans from that country came to Brazil, and they conquered that land and took over that land, and they gave their language and their religion and their culture to the people in Brazil. And same thing with Mexico. In Mexico, the main language is Spanish. People are speaking Spanish in Mexico because Spain conquered Mexico. And the Mexican people were able to give their culture and their language and their way of life. And so the Spanish people told the Mexican people that the Spanish people were superior, that the Mexican religion was, bad, false, and barbaric, but the Spanish religion was the correct religion. At this time, Spain was mostly Catholic. So today there's a lot of Catholics in Mexico because Spain gave their culture to the Mexican people. So I've seen pictures of Mexican people kneeling before white Mary, the mother of Jesus, and I've seen them kneeling in front of white statues of people. So the people in Spain, they were very creative. They were able to trick the Mexican people into worshiping white people. So there you have it. You have brown-skinned people kneeling before white statues of Mary and Jesus and the white saints. So this was a trick to get brown-skinned people to worship white people. Yes, that's the Doctrine of Discovery. And then on top of that, there are so many Catholics in Mexico that Mexican people are teaching their children to pray and bow down to white Jesus and white Mary and to the white saints. And that's a victory for white racism. You see brown-skinned people teaching their brown-skinned children to bow down in front of the statues, in front of the white statues. That's racist white victory. So in Mexico, white Jesus doesn't look like them either. So they have that problem. Now, some people in Mexico, they did decide to draw Jesus into looking more like a Mexican person because people want to look like their hero. People want to identify with their hero. But that does not change the fact that according to the Bible, Jesus was not Mexican. He was not black. According to the Bible, he was Jewish. But the Roman Catholic Church was so powerful that they were able to present Jesus as white. And the Roman Catholic Church is so powerful that the most supreme leader within the Roman Catholic Church is the Pope. And the Pope is white. And there will never be a black Pope, and there will never be a Mexican Pope or a Hispanic Pope, because it is their religion. It's there. The Roman Catholic Church, it originated in Rome, and Rome is located in Europe. So therefore, that's why they drew all these characters to look white. And there you have all these black people and Mexican people bowing down and worshiping pictures of heroes that don't look like themselves. Because this religion, Christianity religion, is not originally for black people. It's not originally for us. So here are some tools of control that was used against the black people. And I have this right here. It's probably backwards, but right here, this is the slave Bible. Now, probably not. I should flip this over. But anyways, this is the slave Bible. And the slave Bible was made first in England. So the English people made the slave Bible and they gave it to the missionaries. And within the slave Bible, it says that slaves should obey their masters, and they make sure they have verses from the New Testament are included in the slave Bible. But they took out parts of the Bible that talked about freedom. And they took out parts of the Bible where it talked about Moses leading his people to freedom. They did not want the black people to read that part of the Bible. So the missionaries who went to Africa passed out slave Bibles to the Africans and also to the black people living in the West Indies. When I say West Indies, I'm talking about Jamaica and the Bahamas, in that area. They had the slave Bible, and the slave Bible was meant to teach them that they need to obey their white masters. That was the whole point of the slave Bible. Now, the black people in North America, on the North America continent, they were not allowed to have the slave Bible, but they were taught that they needed to obey their masters because that's what it says in the New Testament. So the Bible was used against the Africans in North America. And so as a result, the Bible was not really meant to enhance the black life. So I became aware of that. Here's also another book. I hate the fact that you might see the words backwards. I really, really hate that. But it says How to Make a Black Christian. Now, right here it says this word. I'm not going to say the N word. I'm going to say black instead. This is not a good time to use the N word because we are under a crazy administration. So I'm not going to use that word right now. But a book, How to Make a Black a Christian. This was written by a Reverend, Dr. Reverend Charles Colcock Jones. And he wanted to teach the slave owners to use Christianity to control the slaves. Teach the slaves how to obey. Teach them submission. Teach them that they will be rewarded when they are dead. When they are dead. Now, there's no proof that they will get a reward when they're dead, but it was a very horrible trick to get the slaves to be obedient. And so some slaves really did obey because they wanted to get a reward in heaven. But there was no evidence for a heaven for them. It's like they had to wait till they were dead to get their cake in the sky. And there's no evidence for it. So yes, the Bible was used against these slaves. That's the problem. So here we have today a large group of black people in America who are going to church, learning about Jesus, praying and worshiping, and it's not improving their life because this God was not meant for them. This God, it started off as a God for the Jews, okay? I have read the whole Bible, so I know what I'm talking about. This God started off being the God of the Jews. The Jews wrote the Old Testament, and the Jews wrote that they were God's chosen people. Of course, they are going to be God's chosen people because they wrote the book. That's why. Makes sense, right? Then you get into the New Testament, and a portion of the New Testament is written in the Greek language. Greek. The Greek people, that's a part of Europe, okay? So now we're going into, white territory, Europe, Greek. Parts of the Bible is written in the Greek language. And then the information about the Bible goes to Rome, and then the Rome takes control over it. There's an empire, not an empire, but an emperor. His name was Constantine, and he wanted to get Christianity organized, and it was called the Council of Nicaea. Yes, the Council of Nicaea, where a group of men, they were called the Church Fathers, they got together and they organized the Bible, and they decided which part of the Bible could be a part of their Christianity. And they chose which books to put in the Bible and which books not to put in the Bible. Some of these books were called the Apocrypha. I need to say it right. But there's certain books in the Bible that were left out. And there are some books of the Bible that were voted in. Now, the book of Revelation, that was almost voted out. But because of the votes of the Church Father, they were able to include the book of the Revelation because of the votes that they were able to get. But here's the bottom line. Christianity is not for Black people. The Christianity was tailored for Black people. So the Christianity that the Black Americans are getting, it has been tailored for them. And this is what I mean. As a kid growing up in the United States, I have heard many Black Americans say that Black people came from Ham. And so many of them believed it. So many Black pastors believe that Black people came from Ham. Now, Ham was one of Noah's sons, and Ham, he was the son that did wrong. He saw his dad without his clothes, and he told his other brothers. So Noah put a curse on Ham, and he said that Ham will be cursed, and Ham will be a servant or a slave to his brothers. So the racist people got involved, and they said that, okay, this is the reason why Black slavery was necessary, because Ham sinned against his father, and now his descendants shall be slaves to their brothers. See how they spend it that way? Now, according to the Bible, it doesn't say anything about Ham being African or Black. So that's how the racist people were able to spend it and teach Black people, hey, you came from Ham. And then Black people went around saying, we came from Ham. They did not. Black people did not come from Ham, because the story about Noah and the ark, that is a false story. It never happened. The whole earth was never flooded. If the whole earth was flooded, where did the water go? Where did the water go? That story, it did not happen. It could not take place. All those animals could not fit on the ark. If all those animals did fit on the ark, what did the people do with all the poop? Who cleaned up all the poop? 8 people can't take care of a whole zoo. You need more than 8 people to care for a zoo. The Noah's Ark story is false. It's not real. It never happened. And Black people don't need to go around believing that they came from Ham. Black people did not come from Ham. Please get this false story out of your head. Okay, so here's another thing that I noticed about the Black culture that I was a part of, okay? Now, this may not apply to you, but this was my experience growing up and hearing about what's going on in the Black churches in the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area. I've also learned that so many of the Black people that I know, they put their pastors on the pedestal, and they believe that God speaks to their pastor. God